Hey, everybody, and welcome. Today, we're doing a deep dive into just 5 verses from the book of Isaiah. But let me tell you, these verses paint one of the most powerful and honestly mind-blowing visions of world peace you'll ever read. We're talking about a world totally flipped on its head, where predators and prey are just friends. But what does it all really mean? Let's get into it.
So let's start with verse 6, because this is the imagery that everybody knows, right? It's just this beautiful, captivating picture of perfect harmony. The wolf and the lamb, a leopard and a young goat, just hanging out together in complete safety. It's an idea that has fascinated people for thousands of years.
And right off the bat, this brings up the huge question we're going to tackle today. Is this just a really nice poem, a metaphor for an ideal world we should strive for? Or is Isaiah describing something tangible, something that's literally going to happen in the future?
Okay, let's really dive into this vision of a completely transformed world. To get a handle on it, we've got to look closely at verses 6 through 9 and see exactly what Isaiah is laying out for us.
I mean, just look at what's being described here. Verses 6 and 7 show natural enemies not just tolerating each other, but living together. A cow and a bear are literally sharing a meal. Then you get to verse 8, and the world is so incredibly safe that a toddler can play right by a cobra's nest without any fear. And verse 9 just sums it all up beautifully. A world where nothing will hurt nor destroy.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. You might think this change happens all at once, like flipping a switch. But one interpretation from our source material says, no, that's not it. This incredible peace doesn't just appear in a flash. It's something that unfolds gradually, over time.
Well, that's the logical next question, isn't it? If it's a process, what does that process actually look like? How does a world like this come to be? Well, the source material points to another scripture that gives us a really fascinating clue.
So this cross-reference uses the metaphor of a vineyard, and the picture it paints is one of really diligent hard work, of carefully tending to the good plants and clearing out the bad. The point is, this kind of perfect harmony doesn't just happen. It requires a massive, dedicated effort. It's not some overnight miracle.
So the big takeaway here is that this future peace isn't just dropped onto the world from above. According to this view, it's something that's achieved through a massive change inside people. It's a great awakening, a time when people willingly choose to live in harmony. Basically, peace in the world has to start with peace in the people.
Okay, so if it's all about a great awakening, how does that get started? Well, this is where Isaiah shifts gears. He goes from describing the vision of peace to explaining the vehicle, the mechanism that helps bring it all about. And the key, it turns out, is right there in verse 10. All right, verse 10 is packed with some really specific language. It introduces 2 key ideas for a particular time period. First, a figure called the root of Jesse, and second, that figure's job, to be an ensign for the people. So let's break down what those 2 things actually mean.
First things first, let's try to pin down the timing. The prophecy kicks off with "in that day." So when exactly is that day? Our source material gives a really specific interpretation based on the verse that comes right after this one.
And this is where things get wild. The source material draws a direct line from Isaiah's ancient prophecy, way back around 700 BC, to much more recent history. It identifies that day as the start of what it calls the second time the Lord gathers his people, a period it says began after 1917 and really ramped up after the World Wars.
So, we've got the time period. Now let's get back to that central figure in verse 10. Who on earth is this root of Jesse? To figure that out, our source material points us to another scripture for a very specific definition. And check this out, this is a really unique interpretation. It says the root of Jesse isn't an ancient king or prophet. It's a modern-day servant, someone descended from both Jesse and Joseph, who is given the authority, the keys, to act as this ensign and gather people together in the last days. So what exactly is an ensign? It's kind of an old-fashioned word, but the easiest way to think about it is like a flag or a banner on a battlefield. It's a rallying point. So this person, this root of Jesse, acts as a standard that people can look to. And according to this view, it's through this servant that the gospel is reestablished, giving all the nations something to gather around. So let's just pull all this together. Verses 6 through 9 give us the vision. That's the what. It's this incredible future world of total peace that comes about gradually. Then, verse 10 gives us the vehicle. That's the how. It's a specific servant, an ensign, who helps kickstart the great gathering that makes this future peace even possible. And that leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought.
If you connect an ancient prophecy about world peace to a process of gathering that's identified as happening in our modern world, what does that suggest? It presents a picture of Scripture not just as some dusty historical record, but as a living, breathing prophecy that is actively unfolding right now, today.